A very good afternoon. I'm Irene Kasalu, MP Kitui County and member of this committee.
For Sabatia constituency, a member of this committee.
They needed to introduce themselves so that you can become familiar with their voices as well.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair, honorable members. My name is Musa Machoka, Secretary.
Good afternoon. My name is Ahmed Mukhtar, Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary.
Line with Section 44(1) of the Public Finance Management Act 2012 and some.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maybe I can just emphasize a couple of points.
Should have been asked, the PCS is left us with a neighbor team from the Minister of Foreign.
I'll be seeking the support of this committee because we want to have serious dialogue with Parliament and support of Parliament so that our foreign policy ceases to be a policy of the executive of the day. We want your support because we are working towards having a sessional paper on Kenya's foreign policy so that we can have very fundamental principles anchored broadly into our foreign policy. And then on the basis of that, the executive can work around other operational issues, but there must be some cardinal principles that we all as a nation must support in the context of our foreign policy. So I'll be coming to this committee with that support. Let me then say something briefly on the diaspora. There'll be the same kind of challenges with the diaspora in terms of the resourcing, and to just emphasize that there's also a big cut, not just in the foreign affairs department, but also in the diaspora department, almost again close to almost 40% cut. I'll want you to also look at that afresh and seek support, because the primary function and role of diaspora is really to help network and entrench our Kenyan diaspora across the globe. It's not necessarily here at home, but we have to recognize the contribution of the diaspora in Kenya is tremendous. They are part of the team that is stabilizing our forex. They've become bigger in remittances than what we get from exporting tea, coffee, and even horticulture on a single basis, unless you lump them all together. But the diaspora investment is much more. So I think if we look at the potential that we can grow in that area, again, I appeal to the committee to look at it. We need to constantly look at the issue of foreign relations also as a security issue. Because as we are budgeted under public administration and international relations. But one of the key planks around this is also promoting and fostering and ensuring that there is peace and security. So I think it is important that, again, we look at this afresh. And God behold, but can you imagine if for some reason we have foreign staff who are under distress in a foreign land, and because they are under distress, somebody comes with what is perceived as a helping hand, and that helping hand can turn out to be a very dangerous process where our national interests can be seriously compromised. So this is a very serious issue, that if we have a weak and under-financed foreign ministry and foreign policy, we could have serious challenges, even in terms of security, and to put it shortly, even espionage. That is something that I think we need to critically look at. I also want to highlight that the special envoy is a critical issue for you to also look at, because this is the peace initiatives in Sudan, South Sudan, and it may look like it's an expense here, but it is definitely going to be more expensive to us if our neighbors' situation degenerates even more, because then we'll have a situation where there'll be a heightened refugee influx and so forth, and that will bring even more pressure to the government and the people of Kenya. So I think it's important that we look at it in that context, that it is a serious issue and the threats are real. The number of people displaced in Sudan, South Sudan is likely to have elections after 12 years, and we hope that happens. The measures we have to take to also contain the challenges that still remain in Somalia, this becomes a critical area. Going forward, there are also other issues that I will appeal to this committee to look at seriously, particularly when you're looking at us going into the financial year 2024-2025. One of the things that we have put on the table is that Kenya is sponsoring and putting across the candidacy of the former Prime Minister Raila Odinga for the position of AU Chair Commission. And it is important for us to acknowledge that there'll be a lot of movement and support required by the government of Kenya in this endeavor. So these are some of the issues that we may not list all of them here, but they present a case for us to be looked at seriously, bearing in mind that the Kenya's diplomatic space and profile has risen to an anchor state, and it is absolutely essential that we move aggressively. Mr. Stephen Munyako, the matter has been also documented, and it is with the committee now. This one involves a Kenyan who is incarcerated in the Saudi. I think you may have read something about it in the papers recently. He's facing the death row, and he's actually been in the cells for about 13 years. The initial position was that it would have been manslaughter, but the family of the person that passed on appealed under the Sharia law, and that appeal then was granted. So over the years, there's been an attempt to resolve this matter through other means, including the family of the person who died seeking some compensation, financial compensation. Initially, it was close to 400 million equivalent. Negotiations over time brought it down to 1.5 million Kenya shillings. 150 million Kenya shillings. And this process is still ongoing. In fact, he was supposed to have been executed on the 15th, which is today. But we made diplomatic interventions, and that was stayed. And it is our desire to continue engaging the Saudi authorities on this matter to see if some solution can be found and the life of this individual is saved. I personally wrote to my counterpart, Prince Faisal, on behalf of the family, to intervene and stay the execution of this gentleman. I have since interacted with the mother. The family is making an effort on their own to raise some funds, but they are appealing to Kenyan government and Kenyans in general to see if they can support them in this. We can focus on the diplomatic interventions, but as honorable members, you know that there's no fund that you can draw from under such circumstances. So unless Parliament was to create a fund of that nature, it means that we shall have to continue trying to intervene using the diplomatic channels so that we can save this gentleman. We will do our best in different capacities to call for public appeals to support so that as much resource can be raised. And hopefully on the basis of that, continue to strike some conversation with the family of the person who died and to see if they can now accede to allow his life to be saved. So this is an ongoing process, and I think it summarizes, but Lydia Mbotela is the station manager of Kenya Airways, based in Kinshasa, and there's Mr. Olivier Fulunga, also an employee of Kenya Airways. He's a cargo manager. Mr. Chairman, the details are in the write-up, but what happened is that they were arrested on the 19th of April 2024 on an allegation of attempting to transfer valuable cargo, which amounted to, which was actually $8 million of retired currency. The rest of the detail is there, but I'll just focus on one thing. One, first of all, they are not incarcerated anymore. They were released, and I was in Kinshasa a few days ago as a special envoy of President Ruto. I delivered that special message. We had a conversation with the authorities, including the President Tshisekedi, and the team is no longer incarcerated. We also then went further to make sure that we normalize our relations with DRC. So we expect a state visit from the head of state of DRC, which he acceded to, and he'll give the dates. We also intend to immediately restore diplomatic arrangements. You remember the ambassador left through recall, and they had not yet accepted the credentials or agreement of our ambassador. So through this visit, we have now agreed that they will send back their ambassador to take station in Nairobi, and they will also process the credentials of the Kenyan ambassador, so that at that level normalcy is restored. We then are also going to work on a JCC, that is a Joint Commission for Cooperation Commission, and we believe that this will help in restoring cordial relations between us and the DRC. That is the diplomatic initiative. On the issue of the currency, we reiterated that Kenya is signatory to all anti-money laundering protocols, and we cannot allow our carrier, national carrier, to be associated with any anti-money laundering activities. So what was the story on this? The story was that the bank, TMB, Trust Merchant Bank in DRC, with the approval of the DRC Central Bank, was giving away currency that had been withdrawn from circulation, so that the currency can then be repatriated to the Federal Reserve Bank of the US for destruction, and then they can issue new currency. And this is the tradition. It's not, they've done it before, they do it in other countries, it happens in other countries. Even us, our currency, if it retires and it's being withdrawn from circulation, it is normally taken back to the Central Bank of Kenya, which is the issuing authority, for them to retire those currencies from circulation. If it is the pound sterling, they go back to the Bank of England. So this was not money laundering or smuggling activity. It was a process. Documentation was done, approval of their central bank, and therefore we believe that it was an unfortunate incident, but it is now behind us. We intend to proceed in a more cordial manner, but the details are now documented for the committee to be aware of.